analyst Torian Baker on the Chris Thomas Show at 10 a.m. Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. This Wednesday,
we appreciate you being part of the program. Obviously, we have a lot to get to today. The latest on Iran, Kash Patel, and it seems like the declassified documents, that whole controversy is coming up again. We'll explain why, and it seems like Mike Johnson has been panicking over the course of the last 24 hours. So, there's a lot to talk about today, and I always appreciate speaking with candidates all over the country, getting their opinions on all sorts of different topics. And the guy joining us right now to start the program, he is running for Congress for a second time out of Texas, District 32. He's a very successful businessman and an opinionated guy. And I really appreciate the fact that Paul Bondar has taken the opportunity to join us today. Paul, it's good to see you, my friend. How are you? Thanks for being here. Can Paul hear us? I could be wrong, but I think.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there you go. We got you now.
Hey, technology.
I don't want to silence you right off the bat, Paul. So that wouldn't be a good start.
Yeah, I know the woke cancel culture tried to silence a lot of people on Facebook and social media early. We don't want that today, right?
Well, we could definitely talk about that. That's definitely something that we could definitely talk about, Paul. But I do appreciate you taking the time to join us. Thank you so much. There's a lot to get to here in a short period of time. I was doing some research on you, and this isn't the most important topic, but this is a bizarre one. There were members of the media that were saying that you had close ties to Vladimir Putin, and then you filed a lawsuit against them. This was back right in 2024. Was there a settlement there? Can you tell us what happened out of that?
Well, that's still an ongoing lawsuit, so I can't really comment in detail. But, here's the bottom line. The Conservative Party can no longer be the doormat of the liberal media. And for so long, the conservative candidates like myself, we've taken the position that there is valor and honor in being a martyr, and I'm not going to be a martyr. And when somebody, and I think President Trump is a great example, he's had a lot of rulings in his favor, and I believe the tides are turning. And as conservatives, we need to fight back. If there's a wrongful narrative that's dropped right before an election to try to sway and create a hit, in trying to move the needle wrongfully, that's election interference. And so we're going to stand strong on principle. My campaign is based on principle, and my business model has been based on principle, and this is no different.
Gotcha. Now, obviously, I want to get to some local issues in Texas and plenty of topics to get to. I do want to start, though, with some national stuff. And I just want to get your take on this. You've been on the record saying you believe President Trump is the greatest president in our lifetime. So explain to my listeners why you feel that way.
Well, in that context, I believe that as far as being a defender, he's put his wealth and his family in between us and the liberal and the globalist agenda. So as far as being a defender of values and virtues, let's look at the facts. He's been impeached and on a sham kangaroo impeachment. Anybody with eyes can see that, Adam Schiff was a ringleader of a kangaroo court that was a sham of an impeachment. And for people to target, I don't care what is said. I care about what I see. And when I saw the liberal media and I kept seeing everybody go after this guy, to me, that sent a clear message that he's standing in between their agenda and the agenda of what's best for the American people.
Do you think Donald Trump has values? Because you're a religious man. You've talked about that, your faith, and you think Donald Trump is like a poster child for values in your estimation?
Well, I mean, we have to look at things through a couple different sets of lenses, right? No, I don't think that he's a poster child for family values. I think anybody that would say that would be inherently dishonest. What I do feel as though is he's been a highly effective leader in making tough decisions and fighting and having the spine to go against agendas that I think a lot of other politicians would never have the courage to do. And so I think it's important that we don't judge our leaders or any individual with a broad brush where you know, if there's 10 things to evaluate and one area is not exactly perfect, doesn't necessarily mean that they're not effective as a leader. So is he the poster child for family values? Probably not. Does God give us grace to look past some of the frailties of every individual and say there's good in all people? And is he highly effective as American president? I would say yes.
When you say highly effective, what parameters are you using? Are you using the economy, for example? You know, I'll let you tell us. Like, what parameters do you think he's been an extremely effective leader in your estimation?
You know, let's look at what we've seen prior in his first term on how good the economy was running. Right before COVID, the economy was doing extremely well. And then we had the Joe Biden regime, which was a disaster in many, many different ways. The open border, I think, was crucial to harming our culture, but not only that, our economics in this country, right? And so when we look at things right now, I think the economy is doing quite well, considering the transition that we're going through with the Biden administration and the fact that we doged a lot of government jobs off, right? By removing a lot of government jobs, that's less jobs. So the job performance in the private sector, I believe, is doing quite well. So as far as those metrics go, we're performing not perfectly. There's a lot of room for improvement. But my question would be this: if not for that agenda and that platform of President Trump's, how bad could we be as far as a recession? And that's the question people have to wrestle with. It's not perfect now. There are a lot of people hurting because we have rampant inflation that decimated. When we printed off $300 billion to send to Ukraine and we injected PPP loans during COVID, we put so much money into our system that we decimated senior citizens and ignited inflation. That's a real issue we're still wrestling with. But so how bad could it be?
Obviously, you running for office, you're going to be debating a Democrat. At least you want to get to that point, right? Where it's you versus this is this person. So you're going to get some pushback. So if a Democrat said to you, well, wait a second, Paul, the inflation rate was headed in the inflation's gone up since Donald Trump has been president. Almost every item in the grocery store is up except for eggs right now. The private sector job growth is abysmal, even according to some, even in the Trump regime. He said the war would be over in Ukraine in 24 hours. We all know that's not the case. And now we could be starting something new in Iran. We're kidnapping presidents in other countries and stealing their oil. If a Democrat came up to you in a debate and said that, what would be your retort to that?
Well, I would say what I'm going to say to you, that you're categorically wrong with that information. It's categorically false. And that's an irresponsible narrative that you just gave out as a Democrat. Gasoline is way down. These are not things that we have to. These are not things that we have to look at.
Right. I didn't. You're right.
Okay.
You're right. No, to be clear, I didn't say gas was up. What I said was almost every item in the grocery store is up. Meat is up 15%. And when you look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, almost every item in the grocery store is up. The unemployment rate when Joe Biden left office was lower than it is right now. So what did I say that's not factually accurate?
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, what I just told you before, there's a cause and effect. There is a cause and effect on the policies that were in place and how much higher would things be. And I don't agree that every single thing in the grocery store is up. Now, if they want to play a little game where we pick out little certain things and those are become the talking points, that's a nice little game that can be played. But I would suggest that we look at real factual data and let's look at actually everything as far as cost. I know for a fact building supplies and other things are not as bad as where they were in the COVID times, right? So we have to be very, very, we can't cherry pick and pick the certain little things in order to make a narrative. We have to look at everything across the board factually. And that's very simple. We can get averages on that and look at the data. So it's really important. Here's what here's the damage that's done for politics. People cherry pick certain little items in order to formate an opinion or a narrative that's not necessarily accurate. So I would say that we do have work to be done in the economy. There's no question about that. But why is our economy in the situation it is? We printed way too much money to drive up inflation. And that is why we have a spending problem, not a revenue problem. We need to return to some spending principles in order to get this inflation under control. And I know the Fed is trying to do that with interest rates, and they're doing their best to combat this. And I think it's been somewhat effective, right?
Yep.
But there's work to be done, and it's a process, and it's not about just hitting a button and it being perfect immediately.
If you're just joining us, by the way, his name is Paul Bondar. He is running for District 32 to be your next congressman, second go around in Texas. You talk about fiscal responsibility. I went on your website and you do talk about that. Does it concern you at all? And I'm not saying Democrats are perfect when it comes to this issue either, because they're not. But Donald Trump did get us $8.2 trillion in debt his first go around. Is that a concern to you at all, this administration?
I think fiscal responsibility has to be a concern of both parties. And I think it's an incredibly dishonest position to say that we're only going to hold one party accountable.
Oh, no.
I think both parties have to unite, right?
I agree.
We're saying the same thing here. Both parties, both Republicans and Democrats, as a leader that I hope to be in the Republican Party, everybody talks about going to DC to fight. And my approach to actually getting things done as a businessman was, it's not always about fighting, because when you fight with your clients and you fight with your businesses that you work with, really what you do is you alienate and you get nothing done that's productive to help anyone. And so while we're going to be strong on principle, I believe what we need to do is both parties need to sit down. We need to roll up our sleeves, and we actually have to stop fighting and start working for the American people. And that means within our budget, we have two components: discretionary and mandatory spending. And on the discretionary, we need to look at the things that we really don't need to allocate those funds towards. And we also have an issue where if certain things are not spent, the money goes away. And that leads to spending money recklessly, where we have to actually flip the script on that and say, we're going to give you an incentive to be stewards of the money, and we're going to give an incentive to not just waste money for certain departments. Now, on the mandatory side of the budget, everybody says, well, you can't cut Social Security, you can't cut Medicare, you can't cut Medicare. I agree. We have to protect people's benefits. Here's what we need to be able to do. Yeah. Now, if you're like me and you're going to support a charity, you don't want the admin fees to come off that charity where the charity is left with very little money. Right. We need to take a deep dive. Both parties need to take a deep dive and make sure that the money that is going to Social Security and disability, we don't have admin fees that are recklessly taking on.
I completely agree with what you just said, Paul, and maybe we'll agree or disagree on this. I don't know, but I think we agree that whether it's welfare or food stamps or Medicaid, there's always going to be a small percentage of people that are going to take advantage of the system. And if there's fraud out there, I want people held to account. I'm sure you would agree with me on that. However, in the big and beautiful bill, as you know, 20 million people are losing their Medicaid benefits. Surely not all those people are committing fraud. Millions of people are losing their food benefits. As you know, in Texas, we could localize this. There's a lot of people that are struggling everywhere in the country, certainly in Texas as well, that are living paycheck to paycheck. Do you agree with that? What the Trump administration is doing while giving the biggest tax breaks to the top 1%, which was somewhere around $100 billion in 2025, that there are people out there that are struggling, that are losing their health care benefits and their food stamps?
Well, and that's why I just said, I do agree that there are people losing their benefits. Now, if I see people on the streets and they can run a 40 faster than me, and they're probably stronger, and they got brand new shoes that look like they're Air Jordans, and they're out looking for money, I think those are able-bodied working people, and we got to get them off the doles. But more importantly, what I just was saying before you asked that question is we have to look at the systemic institutional issues where we're giving out contracts to administration type parties that admin some of these programs and take too high of a percentage. Yeah. Now, if you give money to a charity and that charity had a admin party that took 50 cents for every dollar, you're not going to be able to afford the benefits to get to the people or the charity. And what I'm suggesting is rather than look at the micro level of the individual users, which we have to look at because fraud is fraud. But if anybody really is truly disabled and anybody really truly needs these benefits, That's what they're there for, and they need to be received by those individuals so that we're not putting them in an adverse situation. But what we need to crack down first and foremost is we need to crack down on the admin, which is the tapeworm sucking from the host the money. And to have responsible government means that we're going to audit that and we're going to look at that intently and have RFQs and RFPs to make sure that the money that's being collected through the taxes that we all have to share and pay is utilized in a manner that's as efficient as possible so that all people get the best bang for their buck. And I haven't heard any discussion on that from any politician yet. Mm-hmm. And I kind of feel like that's the macro level on this whole issue that would solve a lot of things. So the little common person that actually should get benefits who can't fight that battle, they're actually being taken care of. And then it's a win-win. See, I'm a businessman. I look for wins for multiple people.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree with you at all. I don't agree with the way the Trump administration is doing it. And it sounds to me like you don't necessarily agree with how they're going about it either. But I agree with you. We don't want to take benefits away from people that truly need them, that are struggling. Sure, there's going to be people that are taking advantage of it. We have to give them incentives to work again. I don't have a problem with that at all. I want to localize things a little bit. And I'm going to be the first one to admit, Paul, I understand you're a Republican. I understand you I would assume you support Greg Abbott. I am not a Greg Abbott fan. I'll be honest with you. But one part of this is gun control, right? And you talk about that a lot. I'm with you. I think I'm for the Second Amendment. I'm for, people's right to bear arms. I'm all for that. But I don't think Greg Abbott's done enough. I don't think politicians have done enough. I don't want to take everybody's guns away. But at the same time, as you know, we have about 140 guns per 100 people in this country. You had that horrible Texas El Paso Walmart shooting. Greg Abbott said, now's not the time to talk about gun control. Then you had Uvalde, and it's all over the country. And I'm not asking you to trash your governor. I understand you're a Republican. You're running for office. You wanted support. But on the day of the Uvalde, Texas shooting, that night before they had finished counting all the bodies, Greg Abbott did not cancel a campaign event that night, and he was counting money before they counted all those dead bodies in that school. I just think morally, I have an issue with Greg Abbott. I would assume you would probably disagree with me. But gun control is just one of many issues. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, just so you know, I'm endorsed by Pete Chambers,
okay,
who's actually opposing Greg Abbott, because to be honest with you, I believe that we need to go back to a more transparent type of government system. And so one thing you'll like about me, and your viewers may also agree, I'm not a puppet or a rubber stamp for anyone. I call balls and strikes. So I don't wear an R that means that somebody's off limits just because of the party. I believe we have to have responsible things. Now, there's things about Greg Abbott that I think that he's done really well, but no person except our Lord and Savior is perfect. And so with that kind of candor, I would say there's a few things that I do not agree with. Number one, I do not agree that we should have bused people from the border into blue cities, because while I first applauded it and thought it was really sweet to stick it to the sanctuary cities, what we really did is we created the problem we're facing right now, which is billions of dollars of ICE folks having to find and extract these types of people that were bussed in. They should have been handled at the border and sorted and sifted, and we should have never gotten to that point. We wouldn't be having this type of conflict in our country right now. And I hold Greg Abbott responsible for that one decision. Number two, Texas needs to be number one in football, not mosques. And, Sharia law is a big impact here. And we need to look at under whose watch that happened. So those are two things. Now, has Greg Abbott done a lot of good things? Yes, he's done some good things. The important thing is that people that are elected are not just proxy pawn puppets that parrot a platform, and they're actually speaking in a candid manner, because as a businessman, that's what I wanted for my folks in the boardroom. I wanted to have some dissension, because through dissension, we can have meaningful conversations, and through those dialogues, we can actually accomplish getting to the right decision based on playing devil's advocate. Unfortunately, both political parties right now, I would say are they absolutely do not want to have transparent, honest criticism, and it's more about party lines than it is defending the people of this country. Now, to answer your question, because you deserve an answer to your question, as far as guns, cars kill way more people than guns. I don't think we're going to start getting into car control. And I'm going to stay consistent. A gun sitting on a table is not going to just shoot somebody. So we have to remember that what we have to have is a culture of accountability. As a young boy who grew up, My father had guns. He was a police officer. I was 6 years old. I learned how to shoot. The problem we have is we have gun ignorance in this country. And I'd like to also have some level of intervention or review or best practices on the video games that these kids are playing. I know they make a lot of money, but when you're sitting there deprogramming these kids to just shoot in a video game, what kind of damage is that doing to our youth? Because we didn't have all these school shootings back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. It's a correlation of strong evidence that when the video shooting games came out, our gun violence went up. And so I would have to ask the question in a really more in a scientific manner. Is there something besides the fact that there's gun availability that's driving this? Because there was plenty of gun availability during the Wild Wild West. Every kid on a ranch had a gun, and they weren't going around shooting up churches and schools. And all of a sudden now it is. And so I think it's easy for folks to demonize things. And I would say, I don't want to see gun violence. I have 2 kids in school. This is absolutely disgusting. And we're making it a Democrat and a Republican issue. It's an American issue. We need to get rid of gun violence in the schools. But we don't need to do it by banning guns. We need to do it by educating our kids, having responsibility, so that, like when I grew up, my father was able to leave his gun out on the table because he was a police officer. I wasn't going to go jack with it. Okay. I respected what a firearm was.
So, Paul, I do agree that gun responsibility is a part of this. And I've talked about there should be a mandatory class, maybe 2 hours, learn how to shoot a gun, learn how to store a gun, some gun responsibility. So I don't disagree with that. You mentioned cars, which I think is interesting, even though, as you know, driving a car is a privilege and owning a gun is a constitutional right. But I think that guns should be treated in a similar way, in that there should be some sort of class. They have to check your eyesight and your health. I think the age should go from 18 to 21. That's my personal opinion. I think you should have to re-register your gun. I just think if you just did a couple of these things, and if Democrats and Republicans can work together to do this, I think that would help. I understand what you're saying. The gun doesn't shoot. I think mental illness, I think you would agree with me, is a huge part of this, but that's a part of healthcare too. And we're still waiting for Donald Trump's plan. We've been waiting for 9 years for a replacement plan to Obamacare. But yeah, I mean, listen, as you know, we have some of the most guns in this country than any other country in the world, and we have more gun violence. So I guess, I know you haven't said this, but I hear some people make the argument more guns make us safer. And when people do, I don't know if you agree with that, but I just respectfully disagree with that. I just think we are a society that is obsessed with our guns. Yep. And I don't want to take people's rights away. I want you to be able to defend yourself. I want to be able to defend myself. But I just think you mentioned movies, but I do think or video games, we do have a culture in this country too, where I think some people are obsessed with their guns. And I don't think you need an AR-15 to hunt a deer either. So I think it's a lot of different things, right, Paul? I'm not saying it's one thing. I think it's a lot of different things. But again, I'm going to go back to Greg Abbott, who's done nothing. And I think this is more conversations like this need to be had. Yeah, you have 2 kids. Nobody wants to be a victim or a family member to be a victim of gun violence. But I don't think enough is being done in D.C. to combat this.
Well, sometimes doing nothing is better than doing the wrong thing. And the problem with where you're at is that you're going to do little things and then it's not going to help. And then you're going to say we need to do more. And so what you're advocating is what I call the slippery slope. So you want to have things done to chip away at gun rights. And effectively, I would disagree that those are going to be effective, because when I look at where the gun violence is the worst, let's look at Southside Chicago. Gun violence is terrible in Chicago. They have very strict gun laws. Let's look at Washington, D.C. You're almost a criminal to have a gun just in Washington, D.C. Gun violence in D.C. historically throughout many decades has been one of the worst in this nation. So when you go to cities, and you don't have to be really smart and study this really hard, when you have cities that have tough gun laws, their crime and their gun violence is actually higher than places where you have less gun laws. And I have eyes and I have ears, and it doesn't matter what people try to narrate. Those are the facts throughout every minute that I've been alive paying attention. That's what I have seen. So what you have is you have a culture that's bred. So what's going to happen is if you put more gun laws in, things are going to become worse. And what you're then going to say is, well, this isn't working. We need to do more. And pretty soon you look like Europe, and nobody's allowed to have a gun. And then that's where we go. And that is a very dangerous thing called the slippery slope.
Then why is there so little gun violence in those other countries that as a whole have strict gun laws? Why is it in this country we have such a huge issue when it comes to gun violence, and yet we have more guns than almost any other country in the world? Yet you talk about these other countries in Europe and other, and they have little to no gun violence at all.
It's the demographic. It's the demographic of the particular people probably that live there. It's certainly not the guns, because Texas has more guns, Oklahoma has more guns, and the gun violence is nowhere as high in red states as it is in blue cities. That's what we're talking about is America. Do you think
it's a Republican Democrat thing, the gun violence in this country?
No, I'm not saying it's necessarily, but I do think that Democrat policies are I would say Democrat policies are what fuel gun violence. Yes, I would say that. I think Democrats have made bad gun policies, and blue cities are more dangerous. 100%. Blue cities are worse for gun violence than red cities. 100%.
So,
and we can look at data all day long. Yes, blue cities are less safe to live in.
I don't know those stats. I would have to take a look at that. I know that we had the biggest.
You should educate yourself on Chicago and DC and those.
I know there's a lot of. I understand. I do know. I am aware there's a lot of gang violence in Chicago, and certainly there's a lot of violence. But again, we had one of the biggest mass shootings in the history of this country, right in my backyard, right here in Las Vegas, Nevada. And of course, I mentioned Uvalde, Texas, one of the worst mass shootings in a school in American history. And I mentioned the Texas El Paso shooting in Walmart, where somebody just wanted to shoot up a bunch of brown people. We read his manifesto. So I hear what you're saying, but I think this is a serious issue throughout the country. I guess I would respectfully disagree. I don't think it's a red versus blue thing. I think it's the matter of doing something or not doing anything. There are people that think more guns make us safer. I disagree with that. If that was the case, we would be one of the safest countries in the world when it came to gun violence. And as you know, Paul, that's just not the case.
Except for blue cities where guns are prohibited have higher crime. So what you have is you have in your own thesis, you have a huge issue with your own thesis. So until you can square that blue cities that have tougher gun laws are safer, until you can do that, your narrative is full of holes. So you're going to need to go back and sort that out and kind of do some data review and maybe,
there are tougher. You'd have to define to me what a tougher gun law is, because in my personal opinion, throughout the entire country, I'm uncomfortable with an 18-year-old walking into a gun store for the first time and buying thousands of rounds of ammunition and a bunch of assault weapons. I'm not comfortable with that. I do agree that if you have an illegal gun, which we know is a huge problem in this country, I think there should be a mandatory prison sentence. Go ahead.
Are you comfortable, if I choose to, or anybody, that if I want to, I could go and take a pistol and I could put it in, and I can conceal carry or open carry it and walk around anywhere I want? That's Texas. Are you comfortable with that?
Not in a bar. I'm not uncomfortable where there's alcohol involved.
But in general, you're saying you'd be comfortable if you saw me walking around in a park or a street. You'd be comfortable with that.
I think. Well, obviously, you can't be a felon. Obviously, if you don't have a criminal record, if you're a responsible individual, I don't necessarily. I wouldn't disagree with that. Obviously, where there's alcohol involved.
No alcohol. No, but you're some rare exceptions. You don't want drunk people shooting off guns in the air. But an average guy that has a clean background, like I like myself, or maybe yourself, just chooses tomorrow morning to say, "Hey, I'm going to strap on a 45, and I'm going to go to work with a 45, and I've got the right to do that." So if you're comfortable, you said that you're just comfortable with that, then how can anyone say that blue cities that outlaw that are doing the right thing?
I think there are a lot of different reasons for that. And again, I would have to go back and look at that research. What I want to make sure is bad people don't get guns. And I want to make comprehensive background checks a little bit more thorough. I want, as I mentioned, I think you need to be trained on how to use a weapon, even if it's a 2-hour class, right? You asked me, are you comfortable with me carrying? Well, if you know how to use the weapon, you know how to store the weapon, you have basic understanding of that, then yeah, if you're not mentally ill, I think you would agree with me. We're not doing enough in this country to help people that are mentally ill. I think there needs to be stronger background checks. Listen, I'm not one that has a concealed carry. If you're not a felon and you're a normal human being that's responsible, I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I don't necessarily agree with not allowing people to conceal carry. I don't necessarily agree with that. So I'm probably on your side on that one. But I think there's a lot of things we could do that could help. I'm not saying it would solve all of our problems with all the gun violence, Paul, in this country, but I do think there's things we could do that could help. And I just don't see, here's my thing, Paul, right? There were a few Republicans that walked into the House chambers. And listen, I know George Santos. I have private conversations with him still. And there were others that walk into the House chambers with AR-15 pins the day after a mass shooting, where children are killed. I just think it's complicit, right? There are some people out there that love their guns so much, they care more about that than innocent people that are getting killed every day, right? I think we can do both.
Can I talk about Uvalde for 1 second?
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
So my father was in law enforcement for 25 years.
Yeah.
I'm supported and endorsed by a lot of law enforcement folks here. I have a very strong affinity towards law enforcement. I want to say that first of all. Mm-hmm. The people that responded to Uvalde are as guilty or more guilty than the shooter themselves.
Agree.
Big sucking dogs that didn't go into school, that let the kids just sit there and get rounds of bullets put in by one stupid little shooter that should have. We have the best military and police in this country. And for some reason that they were told to stand down to allow that to occur. Yeah. There's your problem. That's worse. Bad management and bad decision making is worse than worse than anything.
I agree 100% with what you just said. With that being said, Ted Cruz, the day after the shooting, who I'm also not a fan of, I don't know what your feelings are on Ted Cruz, but he said, well, we need to harden our schools. We need to lock our the back door should have been locked. This is a kid, as you know, who just shot his grandmother in the face, deranged. Do you think a locked door in the back of a school would have deterred that kid? No, of course not. I agree with everything you said about those cops. I'm pro-police also, by the way, just like you. And I appreciate what your father's service. But yeah, those cops were cowards. There should have been accountability. There hasn't been. It's a disgrace. Mm-hmm. But when Ted Cruz says the back door should have been locked, he's, in my opinion, he sounds like a buffoon when he says like that.
I understand that, but he's looking for, what I think he's doing is he's looking for what insurance companies do is when you say, we had a claim, we had a problem, what can we implement to make sure it never happens again? Mm-hmm. So insurance companies, if there's a disaster or an accident, the first thing you do is you say that. What can we do differently to prevent this from happening? And then you start to list everything that can be done. And then you vet that out as responsible, possible, or irresponsible. And I think that he's saying a simple thing is to have school security. And so I'm not going to sit here and bash to him or say and take it out of context and say that this is his end all be all solution. You can list a number of different things. I wasn't privy to that conversation, but I do think school security is good. My kids go to a school where they have an armed guard. I think that's a good thing. I like having police actually at the school. If we can spend some tens of billions of dollars in every other country on and have grift and graft and things in our social programs, which I just mentioned in our budgets, mm-hmm. we need to be able to say, what can we do without trampling the Second Amendment? I think we need to keep our kids safe, and they should have police in the schools. Yeah, and I think the schools need to be. Listen. I just went on a plane flight. Mm-hmm. I pay a lot of money in taxes. I give a lot of people jobs. I'm a great citizen. What do I have to do? I have to sit in line. I have to show my ID. I have to get my face scanned, and then they take a picture of my face just to get on a domestic flight, right? Look at the level of security just for me to get on an airplane. So if we're having gun violence in schools, I do think it's an appropriate conversation to say we need to guard on who is being allowed to come in. And to know, because the children can't protect themselves. We as adults and we as leaders of these communities and governments, we have got to put kids.
I don't have a problem with what you said about security in schools. And thankfully, there are plenty of schools out there that do have armed guards. And by the way, I don't have a problem with that. But do you think teachers should be armed as well?
I would much rather have teachers be armed than to have schools completely disarmed, because again, if you drew a line down the table, I believe there's two types of people that exist. There's those that can help themselves and believe in the American spirit of independence, and those that depend on government and running and not doing preventative things to be able to prevent is going to allow for the cancers and the scum to be able to come in. And we need to have prevention in schools. Mm-hmm. So my first choice would be to have trained security folks. That's what I said. Yeah. If a school doesn't have the budget, I will go so far as to say I would rather have teachers have guns than not in an area. But my first choice would be to have trained professional security.
I don't have a problem with that at all. A few more minutes here, Paul, and I do appreciate your time. We hear a lot about election integrity. I hear a lot about that. Do I think Donald Trump won the 2020 election? No, I don't. Before we get to election integrity and the maps, and I want to talk about Texas with you, would you agree with me Joe Biden won a free and fair election in 2020. I'm not saying there wasn't any fraud. There's fraud in every election, right?
I categorically disagree that Joe Biden won the election. Joe Biden was a proxy puppet that, I could have had, you could have got a carton of milk elected as easily as Joe Biden. And it was to flex the muscle of the Democrat machine and to spike the ball into the face of the conservative MAGA movement that we own your ass. We can elect whoever we want, a bumbling idiot. We were strong enough to do that. And it was to completely break the spirit of the MAGA movement and the American people in the way that election was performed.
I get it. You don't like Joe Biden. I understand that. But is there widespread voter fraud evidence that shows that Donald Trump won the 2020 election that you have? Because I haven't seen anybody show any of it.
I'll tell you right now, I think almost all of our elections are rigged, Democrat and Republican. I'm in a race right now where there's $1.4 million of dark money. And I'm calling it rigged because you know what dark money is? Dark money is people putting money in the super PACs where you don't know who the donors are. And by that, even though it's legal, doesn't make it right.
I get that, Paul, but you're running for office, right? You must have some faith in our elections. You're saying almost every election is rigged. With respect, you have to be able to prove that in a court of law. You can't just say, well, I don't believe it. I think there was a lot of fraud. A judge has to see that evidence. Donald Trump had 61 opportunities in a courtroom. His attorneys did. The judges all ruled there was no merit because there was no evidence provided. And the only people that seem to talk are Mike Lindell and Dinesh D'Souza. Trump is the only president in American history that has not conceded an election. Hillary did. Kamala did. Regardless of what you might think of them. I mean, does January 6th happen if Donald Trump doesn't say the election was stolen?
Yeah, that January 6th is another scam too.
How is it a scam? What do you mean?
It's a scam.
How so?
If I have to explain it to you, then it's not worth my time because you should know by now how it is a scam. And I'll tell you right now, whoever holds the pen writes history. Okay. Whoever holds the pen writes history. So everything you just said will go down in history and you will be on the side of history, what you just rattled off right there.
Okay. Well, hold on. Let's talk about
just a second. Yep. But whoever holds the pen does not necessarily hold truth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You're pro-police, which I am as well, which I appreciate, Paul. There were police officers that were beaten that day. Can we just start there? There were officers that were hurt, that were injured that day. Is that?
Are we talking when Joe Biden was appointed president? Or are we talking about January 6th? What are you? I'm
talking about January 6th. Okay. We can also talk about when Joe Biden was president. I don't defend any law enforcement.
You know what we really need to investigate is there was one death at the Capitol, and I don't think we've investigated J6 nearly enough because I don't think we know really the full scope on.
But you saw the videos. I understand what you're saying, but you saw the videos. There were officers beaten that day, correct? Can we agree on that at least? There were officers.
By who? By somebody.
By people that had an opportunity. Well, there's video of it.
Were those all MAGA people in the crowd? Were those all conservatives?
Well, of the 1,500 people that were arrested, half of those people are violent criminals, and the overwhelming majority of those people had the opportunity to defend themselves in a court of law. And many of those people, you can look that up, court records showed that they were Trump supporters. Many of them said they were there because of what Donald Trump said.
Do you think a court of law in D.C. is a fair venue?
So you think those people were?
Do you think they had a fair venue?
Well, I think whether it's D.C. or anywhere, they had the opportunity to defend themselves. Wait, I'm confused. Are you saying these people who beat cops on January 6th, a good majority of them were liberals or Democrats? They weren't Trump supporters? I'm trying to understand.
I don't know that just because you wear a Trump hat doesn't mean necessarily you're a Trump
think guy. The people that were chanting "Hang my..."
I don't know anything. I don't know anything. You're the one pushing a narrative. All I'm saying is we have to be objective.
Respectfully, I disagree with you. It's not a narrative. All these people had the opportunity to defend themselves in a court. Okay, they had attorneys. Now, if you're saying you don't think they had a fair trial or whatever, fine. All I'm simply saying is, even if you're right, and some of those people were Democrats, which, by the way, I disagree with, Donald Trump called all those people hostages and patriots. Let's just assume they were Democrats, which they weren't. But let's just assume for a moment, for argument's sake, you're right. Are you a hostage or a patriot if you beat a cop, whether it's Black Lives Matter or January 6th? Are you a hostage or a patriot for beating?
Personally, I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't see any videos of people. I didn't see any videos of people beating cops. So
wait, hold on.
See any.
This was on.
I saw crowds of people. I saw crowds of people. I saw people with flags. I didn't see I didn't see that. So maybe, I don't know.
All the
But I didn't
videos
see
on
it.
January 6th, you didn't see any violence or anybody
I saw
beating on.
I saw a lot of crowds moving around, and it's not what I say, it's what the people themselves are saying. So I wasn't there. I don't know.
I wasn't there either.
But the people, well, you're acting like you were.
Well, because I saw video right before my eyes of police
okay.
officers being beaten with batons. I mean, that's not AI. I saw it. Everyone.
Well, and at the same time, there was one death, and it was Ashley Babbitt, not a police officer.
There were a couple deaths. There was Ashley Babbitt.
Okay.
There was another woman that was trampled
really?
who had a heart attack, who was trampled.
I don't know about that.
Yeah,
I know this. I know if that was a Democrat protest, and that was a Democrat person that was killed at the hands of the Capitol Police, there'd be people out protesting all across America to defund the Capitol Police. And if you can't agree with me, then I believe that you are not being honest in this situation. There's a double standard in America on, when you have somebody we just saw this in Minnesota. Look at this. We had an individual that was fighting with or resisting or combative with ICE, and there was an altercation. That person was killed in that incident, and the protests went mad. And now let's contrast that with Ashley Babbitt, which happened in the Capitol. And where's the outrage? How is it even close to the same for a death? A death is a death.
I agree. It's tragic, but I don't think if you're talking about the Alex Preddy situation, it's not the same at all. I disagree with your narrative that Alex Preddy was assaulting ICE agents. He never reached for his weapon. Kristi Noem called him an assassin, or Stephen Miller called him an assassin. Kristi Noem called him a terrorist. He never brandished his weapon once. And officers pepper sprayed him, and then he's pushed to the ground. He's being kicked constantly. I saw the video. It's very, very sad. I wish Ashley Babbitt was still alive as well. But it's a tragic situation. But at the same time, there was a full investigation. They found that the Capitol Police officer who fired the weapon, and I hear a lot of people say, just comply when it comes to other situations. Well, clearly Ashley Babbitt didn't comply. It's a very sad situation. I wish it didn't happen.
Do we have film? Do we have film to show that she didn't comply?
Yeah. For about 8 to 10 seconds, when somebody yells out, he's got a gun, and the guy with the gun is saying, stop, and she continues to try to go through that glass window as they're chanting, hang Mike Pence 20 feet away from officers. It's very tragic. I wish she was still alive. But her behavior that day, in my personal opinion, was very foolish. Now, if you're very foolish, does that mean you deserve to die? I'm not making that correlation. All I'm simply saying is, Brian Sitnick died the next day. You said you didn't see any video of officers being beaten. Brian Sitnick was beaten. He died the next day. The coroner said that the state that he was in had something to do with what took place on January 6th. There are multiple officers that committed suicide. Their family members within 6 months said they were not the same since that day. 140 officers were injured. Now, I'm not saying everybody there was violent. They weren't, clearly. I'm also not saying that everybody, was treated completely fairly. I have no doubt, Paul, that some people were over prosecuted and it was political. I'm not going to say that didn't happen. I'm sure it did. But I don't believe if you beat a police officer, you're a hostage and a patriot. I don't. And Donald Trump pardoned all those people. You're pro-police just like I am. I don't think it should matter whether it's a Black Lives Matter protest, which clearly you're aware. I'm sure you're aware that, officers were beaten during those protests. They were also beaten January 6th. And if Joe Biden said the people who beat cops during those Black Lives Matter protests were hostage and patriots, you would lose it. By the way, rightfully so. I would lose it too. If you beat law enforcement, you know this, Paul. You're not a hostage. You're not a patriot. Paul, you know that people were beaten that day.
Yeah.
You know that officers were injured that day. You know that. Is Paul still there? Did we lose Paul?
We're just
sorry, Paul. Sorry, go ahead, Paul. You froze up.
Your feed is skipping.
Yep. Go ahead. I got you.
Yeah. So it's a double. I'm going to tell you that was a really nice little narrative that you gave there. We're going to have to agree to disagree in some areas, right? No, I do not believe in.
Help me. How is that a narrative?
Because when we saw film of what is it, Party up in Minnesota kicking the lights out of an SUV, an ICE SUV. You can't tell me that this guy. You can't tell me that behavior is you condone that. That's not a guy that looks.
When did I condone that? By the way, that was 11 days before he was shot. When did I condone kicking a vehicle? Now you're the one with, sir. I've said this time and time again. I don't think you should follow ICE agents. I don't agree with that's a crime, by the way, destruction of property, kicking a vehicle. But just because you kick a vehicle,
I'm glad we agree on that. Then.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't.
But I heard you say. But I heard you say that he. I heard you say that he was not a bad actor in so many words. And when you're kicking,
I never used that terminology.
Well,
what I did say was he didn't assault officers that day. That's not based on.
And what I'm saying is when you're kicking the lights out of the vehicle,
that's 11 days earlier. That's 11 days.
Matter.
It does matter. According
to
a
body of work. It's a body of work. And I'm saying that body of work indicates to the state of mind and the hostility of that individual that you have to put into the body of work. And you can't say that that's a peaceful person protesting when you're kicking lights out.
Paul, that was 11 days before. That would be inadmissible in a court, but the courts would. It's inadmissible. So you're saying if you kick a vehicle, that's a defense for officers shooting somebody and killing somebody 11 days later?
No. You're really a word twister.
No, I'm not. You're the one who brought this up,
I'm
Paul.
saying that he's not a peaceful protester.
Okay,
he's
but
not
all that
peaceful protester.
Okay, but just because
what? Just because he kicked lights out, he's a peaceful protester. That's what you're saying. You said earlier that it was a tragedy and he should have never been. He was wrongfully targeted.
I agree.
He was a peaceful guy. He was not a peaceful guy. Now, should have been shot? He should have never been shot. I don't believe. And we would have liked to have avoided that. We don't want death. That's not what I'm advocating. But we also have to be honest that he was not a peaceful guy. Can we agree to that?
So I never used the term peaceful. I think you're putting words in my mouth. I wouldn't have put myself in that situation. However, what happened 11 days earlier, kicking a car, to me, is completely irrelevant to what happens 11 days later. And the only thing that matters is, did these officers feel like their life was in danger? He never reaches for his weapon. Based on every angle from every video that I've seen, and I've talked to people in law enforcement for decades, what the cops did there, what these Border Patrol agents did there, that are, by the way, 1,500 miles from the border. I don't even know what they're doing there. 5 of them kicking and punching this guy when he's on the ground, okay? And he's on his knees when they shoot him in the back is not justification. And to say that, in my opinion, respectfully, kicking a vehicle is somehow relevant, which, by the way, again, would be inadmissible in a court of law. It's just like the Kyle Rittenhouse thing, right? A week before Kyle Rittenhouse, he was in a vehicle and he was saying, boy, I would love to shoot those guys, shoplifters he was talking about. The judge found that to be inadmissible and they couldn't use that in court. And they wouldn't be.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
You're saying that what happened 11 days earlier has absolutely no bearing on the situation.
100%.
Okay. So with that, would you say that everybody that's involved with J6, where that happened 6 years ago, what they did on J6 should be completely inadmissible? It doesn't matter with anything going forward with them.
What court would find that something that happened 6 years ago is admissible in a court of law if we're talking about another crime that was committed? He wasn't arrested. Now, if you're talking about people that have a criminal record, that's different. Was Alex Preddy arrested?
Until there's pardons, full pardons, this is still on the record.
Okay, but most courts would not. Correct me if I'm wrong, but no, I'm being consistent here. No,
okay.
I don't think that would be admissible in a court of law. You'd have to look at the actual crime and what they're convicted of. There's no court in this country that would look at something that took place 11 days later, which would maybe be a misdemeanor of kicking a taillight out and saying, well,
would you give him a job?
Would I give him a job? Well, the guy already had a job. And he didn't have a criminal record. I would hire him over a January.
No. I'm saying
I would hire him over a January.
That's what I'm asking. Would you give? I want to see if you're consistent. Would you give a J6er a job?
Which Jan 6er? A nonviolent criminal? Tell me.
Any of them.
Okay, so somebody that beat up somebody. Okay, I'll answer that. Somebody.
You tell me. You're the one.
So I'm answering.
Tell me the category.
I am. Let's talk about the violent criminals on January 6th. And again, you said you didn't see any video of any cops being beaten, which I find amazing, but that's okay. So to the certain criminals on January 6th who beat police officers, who were chanting "Hang Mike Pence," who actually physically assaulted police officers, who beat them with their own batons, who bear sprayed them. No, I think those people were far more violent, and I would rather hire an Alex Preddy, even though I don't condone kicking a vehicle. I think beating a police officer with their baton is far more serious crime than kicking out a taillight.
Well, yeah. Now you're making a comparison to two, but what I wanted to see.
Well, that's what you were doing.
I'm not looking for a comparison. I'm looking for a yes or a no. Is it?
Oh, what do you mean? You're trying
one is more than the other. That's not what I'm looking for. You're making a comparison. That's not what I'm asking for.
You're asking me, would you hire any of the January 6ers? And I'm telling you that there are a lot of people that committed very different crimes on January 6th. There's nonviolent criminals who went into the building and didn't touch anybody. There was no destruction of property or anything. That is very different January 6th.
So you'd hire them. Yes or no?
I would much rather be inclined to hire somebody like that who's not a violent criminal.
Not inclined. I want you to go on a record, and I actually want to hear a yes or no. Would you hire? I don't want to hear inclined. Inclined is. Would you hire him? It's a simple yes or no. Would you hire him?
Yes. If we're talking about non-violent criminals, yes, I would.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for taking. Thank you. Hey, I appreciate the honesty. Thank you for answering the question and taking a stand on this one way or the other, and not living in a murky. If so, you would hire them. Okay.
But I would never hire anybody who beat a cop. I would.
Okay, that's the other side of the spectrum.
I wouldn't hire a felon.
What about the ones in the middle that went into the Capitol and they broke some plate glass, and they sat in a chair? What about those guys? Is that about the same as maybe sitting in?
So you're talking about destruction of property?
Yeah, just like the destruction of the property on the vehicle.
So if I saw somebody like an Alex Preddy kicking out, destruction of property, I would prefer not to hire either if I was a business person. I wouldn't want to hire somebody who maybe has some anger management issues. But here's the difference. Those people that did destruction of property on January 6th, they're still alive today. They're pardoned. Alex Preddy is dead.
Except for Ashley Babbitt.
Ashley Babbitt's dead as well. Yeah, you are correct on that.
Yes. But let's be fair. Let's not have a narrative where we have one dead person in Minnesota with all the protesters and not give the same accurate information. We have one dead person at the Capitol Police hands, and we have one protester in Minnesota at the hands of Tim Holtz, right? His state.
Right after Ashley Babbitt was shot, I didn't hear the president or Democrats in general calling her a domestic terrorist hours after that shooting. Right after Alex Preddy was shot, and yes, I do believe it was murder. I do. You had Kristi Noem calling him a domestic terrorist, and you had Stephen Miller.
Ashley Babbitt was murdered? You believe Ashley Babbitt?
No, I don't. No, I don't.
So you believe Ashley Babbitt was properly executed, but you believe that party was murdered?
Don't believe that was an execution. There was a full investigation. It took months, by the way, to conclude in the investigation. And if there's an independent investigation that finds that Alex Preddy was the one at fault in a full-on investigation, then I will respect that decision.
You just got done saying you watched video on it. So based on your own eyewitness, can you not accurately and honestly just disclose? You're saying that you don't believe party you believe that was wrongful, but you think you're justifiable. The Capitol Police were justifiable to put Ashley Babbitt down in that situation.
Well, it's not me that's saying that. It's a full investigation.
But I'm not worried about an investigation. There's a thing called the Warren report when Who Killed Kennedy, and there's all kinds of investigations. And you know what they're worth? Okay. The paper that they're written on, maybe that they're a crock of shit. I hate to say it. I'm just be honest with you. Not every investigation is.
You don't think an officer involved shooting? You don't think there should be an investigation because you think?
Wow! What a stupid question you just asked me. I said it needs to be a fair investigation.
So you don't think it was fair?
Did I ever say that there should not be an investigation? What I just said, read my lips real slow so you can get it. I said investigations are sometimes.
Sir, I've been very respectful to you. There's no reason to be disrespectful.
Listen, I'm disrespectful because what you're trying to do is put words in my mouth. I said investigations.
Okay. I thought you made a generic term in regards to officer.
I'm going to push back when people start trying to play games with the words that I speak.
Okay. I don't speak. So anything involving Donald Trump, anything involving somebody on the right like Ashley Babbitt, you think it's a kangaroo?
Don't say anything. Don't say anything. There you are playing games again. Never say anything with
Ashley
me.
Babbitt investigation
Never say
is
all.
not fair, right?
Never say all. Never say anything.
So you're not playing a game. So you're not playing a game when you say you never saw any police officers or Capitol police officers physically assaulted on January 6th, and you're saying I'm the one playing games here. Guess what, sir? I push back too. No, hold on a second. With respect, I push back too. Okay, I'm not stupid. I'm a pretty intelligent guy, and I think you're lying right now. With respect, sir, I don't play games. When you say you didn't see any Capitol police officers beaten on January 6th, you are lying, Paul. You're lying to me right now.
Just like you're saying, when you said
why don't you be honest and admit that you were lying when you said no Capitol police officers? You haven't seen any video. You're lying. You're running for Congress. So don't play games with me. I push back as well, Paul.
No.
I push back.
When you start sentences with all and any time or anything, what you're deliberately trying to do is you're trying to create a black and white gotcha. And that's not an honest question.
Paul, I asked you a question. Okay, well, you can answer it if you think it's not honest. You just said the 2020 election was stolen with no evidence of widespread voter fraud.
Personal opinion. Why can't you? No, that's my personal opinion. Why can't you?
And where's your evidence? You're running for Congress. Let me ask you a question. You called Joe Biden a bumbling idiot, right? You're on record as saying that he's a bumbling idiot, right?
I think most of America would probably agree with that.
Is Donald Trump a bumbling idiot?
No.
He said you need ID to buy bread. He mixed up Iceland with Greenland. He said you need ID to buy bread. This is the guy who said Jeb Bush got us into the war in Iraq. This is the guy who said he defeated Barack Obama. Is Donald Trump a bumbling idiot? Can I get you on the record to please answer that?
You can't. No? Well, you know what?
You don't want to answer that, Paul.
No, he's not a bumbling idiot.
He's not a bumbling idiot, but Joe Biden is. But Donald Trump, the guy who bragged about going into teenage girls' locker rooms, the guy who's in the Epstein files thousands of times. You're a religious man. You can't be okay with that. The guy who is best friends with
girls. Was it teenage girls?
Yes. You're unaware of it, aren't you? You're ill-informed. He bragged about it. Let me educate you now. He bragged about it on the Howard Stern show. Paul, are you aware that the guy who you support bragged on the Howard Stern show about going into teenage pageant locker rooms without their permission? And several of those women have come forward and said, yes, that did happen. Donald Trump bragged about that on the Howard Stern show. So are you playing games? Are you unaware of that?
I don't agree with that behavior.
I didn't ask you if you agreed with it or not. Would you call that person a bumbling idiot who goes into teenage girls' locker rooms without their permission?
No, I'm not going to agree with that behavior. That's not the right behavior. And I said very early on the broadcast, I said, you're trying to get me again to label somebody. I'm not going to
you labeled Joe Biden. You labeled Joe Biden a bumbling idiot. You did it, not me. And then you said I'm playing.
And I don't believe that Donald Trump deserves that label. Now you won't respect that.
Why is Joe Biden a bumbling idiot?
All you have to do is you just need to look for it. You know it when you see it.
Be specific. What has he done that would lead you to believe he's a bumbling idiot?
It's not what I say. It's what a lot of other people have said, including the liberal media at times. You just have to know. You just listen. This is America. Everybody has a right to their opinion.
I didn't say
you're not willing to respect mine.
I didn't say you don't have a right to your opinion. Clearly you do, Paul. But when you make statements like that, you're running for Congress. You need to tell me reasons why you feel that way. And if you can't, then I think you're the one that's playing games. So I'll ask you again. Why is Joe Biden? What do you think about Kamala Harris? Is she a bumbling idiot too?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yes. Okay. So why is Kamala Harris a bumbling idiot? Give me a reason.
Because listen, buddy, you need to calm down first.
No.
You need to calm down.
I was very respectful to you.
And I was very respectful until you started saying questions with all or everyone.
So Paul, I push back too. Okay.
Yes. You also tried to trap people.
Okay. Now, Paul, tell me. No. I'm not playing games. You're running for Congress. You're running for Congress.
I know what I'm running from. You're running from the truth.
I'm not running from anything.
Yes, you're the guy I've embarrassed you on your own show.
You're the bumbling idiot.
I've embarrassed you on your own show.
You're the bumbling idiot that thinks Trump won the 2020 election. You have been embarrassed in this election. You are a bumbling idiot. Okay. You're the bumbling idiot. Why is Kamala Harris a bumbling idiot? Give me one example.
Because you look this big on your show. Why is she a bumbling idiot?
Yeah.
Just listen to her. Just listen to some of the comments that were made about about yellow school buses and all this different types of nonsense.
Listen to the comments
The American
about
people,
Trump.
and you know what?
It's about windmills. Tom, I'm talking about windmills and Hannibal Lecter.
I really got you worked up because you've really embarrassed yourself today.
No, you've embarrassed yourself. And I think you have no
it's
chance.
Nice that I can get a liberal to be this embarrassed and fired up.
First of all, I didn't vote for Barack Obama. I didn't vote for Hillary Clinton. You have no idea what the hell you're talking about.
You're getting awful red in the face.
Did you have ties to Vladimir Putin, sir?
No.
You didn't. Okay.
No.
You didn't. I'm just playing a game. I'm just throwing the question out there, bud.
I know you're playing a game. I know that. And that's what I'm calling you out on.
So Kamala Harris is a bumbling idiot. Joe Biden is a bumbling idiot, even though you can't give me any reasons why.
I don't need to. The American people have. They voted against them because they can see what's
Biden,
going on.
Excuse me, sir. Last I checked, Joe Biden defeated Donald Trump, and it's not my fault that you can't spell the word fact. And
what you're trying to do is you're trying to get me to say things so you can twist words.
I'm not trying. I'm just proving
it. America has not voted for these people. It's a fair.
Excuse me, sir. America voted for Joe Biden. He won the popular vote. You have no idea what you're talking about.
Did they vote for that? Was the Kamala election? Was that a fair and free election?
Joe Biden. Joe Biden won the election.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a serious question. When Donald Trump won against Hillary, all we heard for years was Russia collusion and the election was stolen. So how can you say?
Who said the election was stolen? Well, no, because you just said something that's not true. Which Democrat official said the election was stolen?
Hillary Clinton and the.
No, she didn't. No, she didn't. Okay. She conceded the next day. She never said the election was stolen.
I feel like everybody in media. I feel like there is a long. What about the Steele?
You are lying on my show.
Dossier.
Hillary Clinton
dossier.
You are a liar. You're running for Congress in Texas, and you are a liar. You're not going to lie on this show. You're the one that's embarrassing yourself. So when did Hillary Clinton say the election was stolen? When did she say that, sir?
I think the entire media said that for about a year.
No. I'm not talking about the media. I'm not talking. No, pot him down again. Not the media. You said Hillary Clinton said the election was stolen.
Just look it up. Just look it up. I'm not.
Every day.
I'm a dumb guy. I'm a dumb guy. So how can I provide you any detail?
And you're making things up. Tell me when Hillary Clinton said the election was stolen. Tell me.
You think I have? Yeah. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Because
you're being absurd. You're being absurd.
I'm being absurd. Yes. Pot this idiot down again. You just said that Hillary Clinton said the election.
So you're telling me that
I'm not being absurd. I'm holding you to account because you're lying. You know, no wonder why you went on.
You're telling me that there was not a narrative that Donald Trump
on the show with the guy.
Russia. Because
you're Russia. You're like Alex Jones.
Russia. You're being ridiculous. You're being ridiculous.
I'm being ridiculous. So tell me, when did Hillary say the election was stolen?
Russia.
Tell me. I'm asking you now.
News media said it.
I didn't ask you about the news media. Tell me again. I didn't ask you about the news media. The question was, you said Hillary said the election was stolen. I'm now asking you for an 8th time. When did she say the election was stolen?
Everybody said it.
Didn't ask you about everybody. I didn't ask you about everybody. I'm now asking you for a 9th time. When did Hillary Clinton say the election was stolen?
Just go on. Just go back and look.
Just go back.
You're telling me that she didn't. Come on.
She conceded, you buffoon.
Now you're being disingenuous.
I'm being disingenuous, but you make things up. You say Trump won the 2020 election. You claim you didn't see any officers beaten on January 6th. You are a buffoon. I
wasn't there. No.
You are a Trump mushroom gobbler. That's what you are. You can't criticize Trump for anything. You make things up. And I taught you a lesson today, Paul. You are not going to be condescending to me.
You've exposed yourself as a hothead.
Trust me, nobody wants you to expose yourself.
Is this how all your interviews work?
Yeah.
Is this how all your interviews work?
Let me tell you something. You are a no-name clueless fool. I've had Caroline Levitt. I've had Caroline Levitt on this show. I've had Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on this show. Nobody knows who the hell you are. And there's a reason for that, because you are a clueless buffoon. That's why. You are a guy who makes things up. You are a right-wing Trump.
So are you saying that Donald Trump made up? Are you saying that 75 million people made up the same thing that I said?
I'm not saying that.
75 million people are wrong. Are you saying that?
You are the one that
75 million people are wrong.
I'll answer your question, Paul. Get the MAGA wax out of your ears, and I'll answer your question. Okay, Paul? Our own FBI and CIA said it. You are the one making the claim that you think the election was stolen. If you're going to make a claim like that, you have to provide evidence to show it. You have zero evidence to back up your lie that the election was stolen. And guess what, Paul? If Trump didn't lie about the election, January 6th doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. So now I'm going to ask you again, provide me any evidence of widespread voter fraud that could have changed the outcome of the 2020 election. Go ahead, Paul.
That's a ridiculous question. You know that I'm not investigating it personally.
So why would you say the election is stolen then when you have no idea what the hell you're talking about and you have no evidence?
Why does Donald Trump say it? Why does 75 million people say it? Do they not have a voice?
Why did Trump
people
say
not
it?
deserve to have an opinion?
I'll answer your question. Why does Trump say it? Because he can't admit he loses at anything, because he's a narcissist, because the guy lies about everything in his life, and he's a used car salesman idiot. That's why. And you support this guy. You support the guy who lies about everything.
Well, Trump's an idiot.
Why. But
so
if Trump says it, it must be true.
So Trump's an idiot. You're saying the president of the United States is an idiot.
Okay, I'll answer your question.
You're saying Trump's an idiot. You just said that.
Oh, yes, I do.
You just said that.
Yeah. I think Trump's an idiot, and he's a liable sexual abuser. He's a 34-count felon. Yes, I just said it, Paul. Trump is an idiot, and I'm sick and tired of people that continue to curl themselves into a MAGA pretzel that keep defending him, people like you who play clueless. You think Trump won, and then when I ask you for evidence, oh, I don't know anything about that. I'm not investigating the election. Then don't say it was stolen then, you dummy. Don't say it was stolen.
Yeah, well, it's about
some evidence.
Is this gravity? Is that gravity? Show me the evidence. Show me the evidence. Is this gravity?
Yeah, there's scientific.
We know it.
There's
you see it with your own eyes. Show me the gravity. Show me the evidence.
What did you see with your own eyes? Tell me. What did you see? By the way, there's scientific evidence that we have gravity, you dope. Nice analogy. But go ahead. Give me. Yeah, there's actually scientists that show you the evidence that we have something called gravity, and then we have space out there.
I know. You're making my point for me.
Tell me, why was the election
stolen? You're the gravity denier. You're the gravity denier.
Well, you're just an idiot.
You're a gravity denier.
Paul, you're
an
idiot.
I'm making a point that
you're not. Pod this idiot. Pod this buffoon again. Pod this Chris Farley 2.0 wannabe. Dude, seriously, you're comparing gravity to the 2020 election. You're running for Congress, dude.
I said comparing it. I said it's a natural law. It's a natural law that's self-evident.
You can't provide any evidence that the election was stolen, but
you having fun?
Stolen.
You having fun?
Am I having fun? I'm having fun. You're showing you what a moron you are. Yes, you're a moron, just like Trump.
Okay.
You're a moron.
Just like you can't even concede that blue cities have more gun violence than other places.
Back to guns now. You've called Kamala Harris a bumbling idiot. You've called Joe Biden an idiot. By the way, you haven't come up with any reasons why
you called Trump an idiot.
Yeah, but
so, what's your point? What's your point? That you got a big bad microphone and you can call people idiots and other people can't? What's your point?
I've come up with reasons why I think he's an idiot. Example, or maybe a criminal or a bad person. Okay. He's cheated on every woman he's ever been with. He's attacked Gold Star families. He's attacked POWs. He's attacked people of color. He said, I did not want black people counting my money in Atlantic City. I want Jews counting my money. This is the guy that was sued thousands of times for discrimination lawsuits. This is the guy who continually lies about the 2020 election.
Tell me what you like about Kamala and Joe Biden. Tell me what you like about that.
Go on and on and give you reasons, Paul.
Tell me what you like about that.
You can't give me one reason why you think Kamala Harris is a bumbling idiot. Well, let me tell you something, Paul. She is a duly elected attorney general.
I'm not going to sit here.
Someone of herself, passing the bar. Donald Trump was given a $500 million company from his clan daddy when he was a kid. Okay. He's never had to work an honest day in his life. He is a swindler, used car salesman, idiot. And Marco Rubio even said if he wasn't given a $500 million company, he'd be selling used gold watches in Manhattan. So those are, and by the way, Trump University, the crypto scandal, these are things that either you're not aware of or you're just too afraid because you're a coward and you have no way of admitting it. Why don't you admit it that he's a used car salesman wannabe, and he is a? Do you agree with the crypto scandal stuff? Do you agree with that? I just gave you reasons, Paul. I know you're quiet now. I just gave you reasons.
No, I'm just speechless. I'm just speechless.
I bet you are. I bet you are.
No, tell me. Why don't you tell everybody what you like about Kamala and Joe Biden so much?
Sure.
Tell me.
I'm so glad because I want to educate somebody like you.
Please educate us. Educate us.
Then you please need to be quiet.
Okay.
One thing I will say about Kamala is that she's a good mother, she's a good wife, and even mother of the actual children has said that, because she's a stepmother, has said she's a good mother and she's a kind human being. I'll tell you something else about Kamala. No one's ever alleged that she's committed sexual assault. Donald Trump has 25 plus women that have accused him of sexual assault. Kamala Harris isn't in the Epstein files thousands of different times. Kamala Harris doesn't tell people to go back to their S-hole countries. Kamala Harris doesn't attack people based on skin color. No, Kamala Harris isn't a convicted felon. She's not a liable sexual abuser.
So what you're telling me is you don't like it's the personal, but I'm asking you about the policy positions now.
Oh, okay. So you just said, okay, so now you want to go.
Because if you, no, just a second. If you're going to be completely honest with me, when you asked me about Trump, I told you straight up that there was personal things that I didn't agree with, but I thought he was a good policy.
Good. I'm glad we agree on that. Now I'll go to some policy disagreements.
Please do.
I'm glad we agree, and that's why,
by the way, policy issues.
That's why I called Donald Trump an idiot. Okay, there's half and half here. There's policy, and then there's personal. Okay, and the personal stuff.
You seem to like to go personal.
Well, I mean, I go personal with people that go personal with me. But let's talk about policy for a moment, and we can start with Kamala Harris. That's fine. Mm-hmm. Kamala Harris would not have given the biggest tax breaks to the top 1% like Donald Trump did. Actually, Donald Trump, $100 billion in tax breaks to the top 1% in this country. Kamala actually had a plan. She wanted to lower taxes for people that were making under $400,000 a year to around 26%. She actually campaigned on that, believe it or not. I can tell you that Kamala Harris wouldn't have ICE agents in Minneapolis, 3,000 or 4,000 of them. I can tell you that Kamala Harris wanted to actually not take away Medicaid and health care, wanted to continue Obamacare and the subsidies. And I can also tell you that millions of Americans would not have lost their food stamps. You know something else Kamala Harris wouldn't have done? Overturn Roe versus Wade. Okay. Kamala Harris wouldn't have done that. She doesn't want to tell women what to do with their bodies. Kamala Harris wouldn't have done that. She wanted to raise minimum wage.
You think that's a good thing? So we disagree on that.
I don't think it's a good thing if a 13-year-old girl is raped, God forbid, and we force her to have that baby.
Always the rape example. Always the rape. You guys are
always because that's a part of it. Paul, do you think if you're
a cherry picker?
I'm a cherry picker.
You pick the elements that you want to talk about to make yourself look good.
Okay, so first of all, I'm not trying to make myself look good. You're just making yourself look bad. That's a part of abortion. Okay, so you want to tell women, well, yeah, because I think you're a jerk, but you want to tell women what to do with their bodies, all women across the country, right, Paul?
That's a stupid question right there. That's a stupid question. I want to tell. That's a stupid question.
Call yourself pro-life? Are you a pro-life?
Stupid question. I am pro-life.
Gotcha. So if you're pro-life, then why do you want to take away food stamps, Medicare, welfare? Do you know that Kamala Harris is not against taking away?
Did you not listen to the first?
Oh no, trust me, I've struggled.
Did you not listen where I said we need to make sure that people who are in need of things responsibly get that?
That's not what Trump is doing in the big and beautiful.
You asked me what I wanted. You asked me what I wanted. Well,
you support Donald Trump. You support. Now, I just gave you some policy disagreements.
Not categorically on every single thing where you're going to have me rule on or speak on something. What Donald Trump always wants to do is not what Donald Trump always gets to do. And a lot of times there's compromises that's made in budgets and made in plans. And then you asked me about me. And when you asked me about me, I said we need to root out the fraud, and we need to make sure our government runs as efficiently as possible so that people don't lose benefits.
Okay, I
agree. Let's talk about fraud. Very clear about that.
So let's be clear about fraud. Let's talk
very clear about that.
So you support Donald Trump. Are you okay with the 20 pardons of billions of dollars of people that he not only pardoned, but they don't have to pay restitution? Since you claim you care so much about fraud, have you publicly called out Donald Trump for the over 20 pardons that he's given out, billions of dollars in fraud? And I repeat, they don't have to pay back any restitution, including George Santos. Are you okay with that because you voted for him?
I don't have implicit knowledge on what all those.
No, I don't think you have implicit knowledge on anything. I don't think you have knowledge of anything. Everything I bring up, I find it very question down again. This is.
I'm not going to answer a question. You want me to say yes?
Bring up stuff about Donald Trump, and all of a sudden they play stupid, or either they are stupid. All of a sudden, Paul doesn't know. I don't know about any of those officers that were beaten on January 6th. I care about fraud. But wait, I don't know about all these pardons that Donald Trump gave where billions of dollars in fraud. But let's talk about the Somalis. Paul, you're the one who's it's either one of two things, Paul. Either you're completely complicit and you don't know what you're talking about, or you don't have a backbone.
You're asking me to comment on 20 pardons where I didn't review those pardons. I don't know. Maybe,
why do you have to review it to have common knowledge of it?
Because maybe I don't agree with them. Maybe I'm going to say,
but you're unaware of it.
Do you think I have knowledge specifically on the details of those parts? Maybe I would agree with you. Maybe.
Well, you claim you care about fraud, but yet the guy you voted for, you're unaware of the billions of dollars in fraud.
You're trying to say that I will implicitly follow everything that Donald Trump orders. And
no, you just play stupid. You just play stupid, and you claim ill-informed, where you don't want to admit that the pardons that he gave out were fraudulent. You still haven't told me why Joe Biden is a bumbling idiot. You still haven't told me why Kamala Harris is a bumbling idiot.
When you're riding around a bicycle falling off, and you're mixing.
When you're riding around, okay, so hold on. A guy that was
so hold on. If you took a poll, everybody in America would side with you.
Okay, so hold on. Your definition of a bumbling idiot. Your definition of a bumbling idiot is a guy who
did he look presidential?
Hold on. A guy that mixes words up. Donald Trump.
Here we go.
Okay, see, the reason why I'm bringing this up, it proves that you're a Trump mushroom gobbler and you're a partisan hack. You claim that Joe Biden is a bumbling idiot because he, quote, mixed up some words and he had an accident where he fell down on a bicycle. How about Donald Trump falling down on the stairs multiple times when he's walked up Air Force One? Now, I don't think Donald Trump is a bumbling idiot because he fell down. I don't think Donald Trump is a bumbling idiot because sometimes he has gaffes. You're the one. I gave you reasons why I think he's an idiot, and they're far more serious than this. No, sir, I don't think somebody's a bumbling idiot because they, the words they use, maybe they have a gap here and then when you're getting old.
Here's the difference between the two. Donald Trump has had a mental review.
The cognitive test?
Yes. And there's a lot of people that have gone on record to say.
Why won't, a lot of people have
Why are you laughing about that?
I'm laughing because.
Why are you laughing about the person who's in charge of our nuclear? Why are you laughing about that?
I'm telling you why, because what you said is ridiculous.
Why are you laughing?
I'm going to answer your question if you'll be quiet. We're talking about Donald Trump's health. Why did Donald Trump have an MRI? Did he release that?
Talking about the cognitive.
No. We're talking about health in general.
We're talking about
having him out.
Bumbling. Oh, let's go down another road, Rev. You know what? I told you. You asked me the question about bumbling idiot. I gave you an answer.
Does Donald Trump ever mixed up his words?
And I gave you an answer. Can I please? You asked me bumbling idiot. I gave you an answer. Cognitive test. Now you want to take it down another series of different.
Did Joe Biden fail a cognitive test? Did Joe Biden fail a test?
There were some grave concerns about that.
No. I didn't ask you about concern.
I don't know. Did he?
You're not a doctor. It's interesting. We talk about election fraud.
I want to talk about it.
No, it's interesting. We talk about election fraud, and you claim, listen, I'm not reviewing all the evidence. I'm not in the FBI. So you have no evidence to prove that Trump won, but yet we talk about cognitive stuff. All of a sudden, Paul Bondar becomes a doctor, and you gave Joe Biden a physical. So I ask you again, where did Joe Biden fail a cognitive test?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, that's exactly the type.
Dr. Bondar, where did Joe Biden fail a cognitive test?
You are a funny little man.
You want to pot him down again? Notice how Paul doesn't know the answer. When I ask him, he doesn't know the answer because guess what? Joe Biden didn't fail a cognitive test. And when you hear your orange turd leader always say how healthy he is and how he passed a cognitive test, he won't even release his own medical records, particularly the medical records where he recently had an MRI and the White House lied about it. But Paul, again, doesn't know anything about that. But all of a sudden, Paul's a doctor and he gave Joe Biden a physical. Guess what, Paul? Joe Biden's old. Okay. His health has been deteriorating. So is Donald Trump's. But you're not willing to say that. Donald Trump is in great physical condition, right? The morbidly obese man. Let me guess. You probably think he weighs 239 pounds too, right? You believe that, Paul?
Now you're going to criticize. Now you're going to criticize the president's weight. Now you're going to criticize the man's weight.
Is Donald Trump 239 pounds, Paul? Dr. Bondar.
You're going to criticize the president's weight. You've sunk into this level.
I'm asking you a question, Paul. Paul, I'm asking you a question. Is Donald Trump 239
can you provide? Pounds? I don't think so. No.
You don't think? Okay, so we agree.
I don't know. Paul, I don't have a scale. I don't have a scale. How can I answer? How can I tell you what Donald Trump weighs?
You should have a scale. You should have a scale. But I'm just wondering. I'm just wondering if it's mumbling and bumbling words, or as you said, you used the term mixed up words, I think is the word. Would you also agree with me that Donald Trump mixes up words too, or is that not factually accurate?
In a consistent basis or once in a rare occasion? Because you want to just
I can play you a 10-minute compilation of Donald Trump in the last year.
But I'd like to go
up words.
Cool. I'd like to go back to where you have the evidence of him failing these cognitive tests.
When did I say? Okay,
I just heard you that Donald Trump failed an MRI.
So first of all,
can you be a medical examiner?
Hold on. You do realize that an MRI. By the way, I never said he failed an MRI. I never said he failed a cognitive test. Do you know the wait? This is fascinating. Do you not know the difference between an MRI and a cognitive test? You do realize they're different, right, Paul?
Dr. Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Okay. Let me help you out, Paul. Let me help you out.
Oh, please do.
I never said you need a lot of help. I never said he failed an MRI. That's not what I said, Paul. So I need you to pay attention. What I did say is he had an MRI. The White House lied about it. They said it was a preventative measure. There's not one doctor in this country that said you have an MRI just because, like any normal physical. There's a reason why somebody has an MRI. Every doctor would tell you that.
They have MRIs all the time.
And why? Is it a preventative measure, or is there a reason why they're having an MRI? Because they might have a concern. Or is it just preventative? Everyone has an MRI.
What would be the big problem if there was a concern?
Okay, so
you have an MRI, you're going to indict him for having an MRI?
Paul, I never said that he needed to be indicted for having an MRI. You're not
suggesting dispersions on an MRI.
Paul, the reason why I brought up the MRI is because the White House lied about it. They didn't tell us
proof that they lied about it.
Yes, I do.
Okay, great.
Here's the proof.
They lied,
and you could talk. So you don't care about lies. You know,
it's not my lie.
Oh, okay. So as long as it's not your lie, Donald Trump could lie about anything, like the 2020
You're the
election.
one saying they're lying. I'm just not going to argue with you. You're saying they're lying. Okay.
You're the one who talked about Joe Biden.
Lied.
You're the one,
say, buddy.
You're the one who talked about Joe Biden's health.
Yeah.
As if you're a doctor that gave him.
Am I the only one? Am I the only one that brought up Joe Biden's
health?
No,
there's a lot of other. No, there's a lot of other. No, I'll answer that. I'll answer that. I'll answer your question.
Whose health has been brought up more, Joe Biden's or Donald Trump's? Who has?
Sure, I'll gladly pick it up. Yeah, I'll answer it. So I think there's a lot of right-wing idiots out there like you who are not medical professionals, who are not doctors, who continue to want to talk about Joe Biden's health. But then when it comes to Donald Trump, the Trump mushroom gobblers, with respect, like yourself, think that he's in great physical condition and he can do no wrong and he's Superman. Guess what, Paul? I'll repeat myself. They're both old. There's also a lot of idiots out there that think that Donald Trump won the 2020 election. Yes, I call those people idiots. You know why, Paul? People like you who have no evidence to prove widespread voter fraud. And when I ask you about that, you're running for office, Paul. You're not just some guy at the water cooler. When I ask you for actual evidence, because when you make a claim about something, yes, Paul, you're entitled to your opinion.
75 million people are idiots. You're calling half of America. You're calling half of America idiots.
When did I say that?
You said it just now by saying that because I believe that I'm an idiot.
Half of America do not believe that. Hold on a second. Let me correct you once again, Paul.
Yeah,
everybody who voted for Donald Trump does not believe that the election was stolen.
Not everybody, but a lot of people. But a lot of people do.
You just said 75 million. That is factually inaccurate. Number one. Number two. In order to claim something, like, for example, if I said the earth is flat, I'm going to make it easier for you, Paul. If I said the earth is flat, you would probably say, okay, Brian, you're entitled to your opinion, but I disagree with you because there's no evidence. Do you have any evidence that the earth is flat? And then just like you, I would sit here with my thumb up my nose and say, well, no, I'm not a geographer, so I really don't. But the earth is flat. Don't you understand? That's exactly what you're doing when it comes to the 2020 election. All you're going by is Donald Trump. Donald Trump said the election is stolen. Boy, I can't believe how many people voted for Joe Biden. A judge would laugh in your face, Paul. They would laugh in your face. You have to have widespread voter fraud evidence.
I don't care what you say. I don't care. It's my opinion.
I think most people.
It's my opinion. I don't care what you think, and I don't care what you say.
I think most people in Texas probably don't care what you say either, and that's why you have probably no chance to win. It's why you lost the first time, and you were crying about it, and it's why you're going to lose again. You're not going to win because I'd like to think that there are too many people in Texas that have an IQ over 20 that will not vote for somebody like you. You make unsubstantiated claims. You're a right-wing Trump mushroom gobbler, and I've made it very clear, and you've been embarrassed, and I also taught you a lesson. You don't disrespect me on my show. I don't tolerate anybody who's condescending. The first 30 to 45 minutes of this conversation, even though I literally disagreed with every single thing you said, I was still extremely respectful. But the moment you start to disrespect me and be condescending is the moment You're going to pay the price. So, Paul, you're going to get destroyed in the election. You're an embarrassment. Why don't you go back on the Alex Jones show? Because quite frankly, that's where you belong. You're a conspiracy theorist. You clearly have no moral compass. Clearly, you don't. Did he? Did he?
Good one. You can unmic me now. You can unmic me. I love how you silence me. Censorship.
Yeah, censorship. Guess what, Paul? Let me explain to you how the law works, because clearly you want to be a lawmaker, but you don't understand how censorship works. You see, Paul, here's how it works. I run my own private business. This is my own show. If I don't want you on, or I want to pod you down, I have the right to do that.
Sure, that's power.
Okay, good.
You have power.
I've had you on now. I've had Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and some of the biggest names in politics on this show.
Great.
I have had you on for an hour and a half, regretfully, and you're saying that I'm censoring you, you fool. I'm censoring you. I've given you the opportunity to embarrass yourself on this show, which clearly you've done. You've claimed that election was stolen. You say you didn't see any police officers. You say you didn't see any police officers beaten on January 6th. Paul, you're just a buffoon, man.
Yeah.
You're just yeah. You're a right-wing Trump mushroom gobbler. I suggest you take.
I am a right-winger. I am a right-winger. You're right.
You're I didn't say you were just a right-winger, Paul. Yeah. I also say you wear the Donald Trump knee pads 24/7. You're incapable of criticizing Donald Trump for anything. And quite frankly, Paul, I feel bad for you, man. I think you need to go back to school and get an education. Really, dude. Get an education and stop playing partisan politics and be a normal human being.
I have an education. I have plenty of degrees. You know what?
Okay. You sound like a very intelligent guy. You're extremely intelligent.
You sound like a little angry man.
Pat him down again. First of all, Paul, let me tell you something. Oh, and he left. I sound like a very angry man. Have a nice day, Paul, you buffoon. Numchuck, what did you think about that?
I love Temu Pat McAfee. Jeez.
What a buffoon. Let me tell you something. I'll open up the phone lines now, and I'm not going to take a break because I want you guys to chime in on that. The only reason why, and by the way, the number is 702-221-7283. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are going to want to chime in on this buffoon. 702-221-7283. And again, the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-7283. And by the way, the people that got me this guy, I've been very respectful to the guests that they've had on my show. I've always been respectful to them. But the second this guy has started to be condescending and he started to, attack me and be condescending, I ain't putting up with that. 702-221-7283. And again, the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-7283 is the number to call. In this interview, he said Trump won the 2020 election. In this interview, he said he didn't know of or wasn't aware of any law enforcement being injured on January 6th. In this interview, he called Joe Biden a bumbling idiot. He called Kamala Harris a bumbling idiot. He called Biden a bumbling idiot because he claimed that Biden mixes up his words. And then when I gave some quotes from Donald Trump, he didn't want to have any of that. He says it's very, very rare. All right. Wow. We got a lot to get to here. Again, the number to call, 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you do want to be a part of the program. All right, why don't we start off with Jason? Jason is first up. 702-221-7283 is the number to call again. All right, we're going to get right to the phone calls once we get caught up here. All right, let's go to Jason first. I believe he's line 3. Jason, what's going on, man? What's up, Jason?
Hey, you ready? Ready for me right now?
Go ahead, Jason. Go ahead.
Okay, so let's just start right off the top. The reddest state of all is New Orleans, and they're the highest murder capital in the world. So that's already one poll that's stupid. Number 2, the Brady bill, when it was in effect, there was no mass shooting. That's number 2. Number 3, the most important, Chicago gets all their guns from Indiana because Indiana has no gun laws. So you could go in at 18 to buy a gun.
Yeah.
So that's where all the gangbangers, they get some young girl or anybody that's 18, go to Indiana and they buy it with all the guns they want and come back and have the gang war.
Yeah.
So, and then Paul is the biggest pedal protector I've ever seen. I don't know how you do it, but that boy is a mushroom gobbler forever.
I'm not going to defend Paul. I'll tell you that right now, Jason, and I do appreciate your call. We'll get to the YouTube Super Chat here in a moment. Let's go to Brandon. Brandon is next up on PTL. Hello, Brandon.
Hello?
Yes. Hi, Brandon.
All right. So My question is, why do you get like these right-wing stupid idiots that boast propaganda and misinformation, and then it's not even that they're the problem, it's the people that vote for them. I get you're an independent, but I just want you to answer that for me.
Yeah, so why do I have people like that on my show? Well, I'll be honest with you. First of all, I did a little bit of research on him, and I did not believe he had the takes that he had. But I will also say this: I will always have people on this show that I disagree with. I mean, I had Enrique Tarrio on the show. I've had people in the Trump administration on the show. I also think it's important to expose them for who they are. And I believe I just ended his candidacy in Texas. I don't believe he's going to win. And I'm going to expose him for that. And I'm going to post this everywhere. And that's the best answer I can give you.
And one more thing. I think that that state representative is more stupid than him. The one that said that George Floyd died of an overdose.
Oh yeah, that guy's even. I would agree with you. That guy's even worse, my friend. I appreciate the call, Brandon. Thank you. Let's go to Andy. Andy is next up on PTL. What's up, Andy? Andy, lower your radio for me. Yep.
So anyway, here I am watching you, and I was thumbs up with you. I was laughing my butt off, and it was just, I could see him getting really uncomfortable, his body language, his face expression. And believe me, I was waiting and waiting for him to hang up. And then when he did, I absolutely clapped. And Brian, if I was out in Vegas, I'd buy you a beer, man. Good job.
I appreciate that, bro.
I've talked to you before the other day. I'm a longtime registered Republican living here in Florida.
Yep.
Screw them Republicans, and I hope you ruined his career. This guy is a freaking moron. Have a great day.
Thank you. I don't disagree with you, my friend, and I appreciate the phone call. 702-221-7283. Upstate is next. Hello, Upstate. Upstate, go right ahead.
How you doing?
Good. What's up, man? My blood pressure's a little high, but I'm doing okay.
I got to tell you, man, this is the most mind-numbingly insane thing I have ever seen in my life. This is the radio equivalent of the Pam Bondi hearing. This guy made no sense whatsoever. My wife looked at me. Even my wife is from New York City. She was even starting to get bent out of shape.
But sir, how is it that this guy's even running for office? Like, how is it that he's getting any media? I mean, the guy's a Looney Tune. Like, he's actually run. I don't think he's going to win. Geez, I hope not. But how is this guy even running for office?
I don't, I live in South Carolina, so it's like we have our fair share of these guys too. But I am glad I don't live in Texas. And I've got a question for you as I leave here, and I want to thank you for the great job you're doing. Do you think MAGA passes around a handbook so that they all give the same answers to every question?
No, but here's what I will say. They all watch the same media. They all watch Newsmax, OAN, Fox News, and they get their talking points. This guy was so clueless, and I guarantee you, he's never been challenged like that before. You said it yourself. You saw how uncomfortable he was. When you make a case, he made a woke joke to start this interview thinking that I would laugh at that, and he had no idea what he's getting himself into. Now, if he says these things on the Alex Jones show, he won't be challenged. But when you come on a show like this, I'm going to challenge you, and he wasn't prepared. You can't say the election was stolen, or he said he never saw any officers physically assaulted on January 6th. When you make a stupid statement like that, you are done, and I'm going to take you down. Let's go to Paul. Paul is next on PTL. What's up, Paul?
Hey, hi, Brian. Thanks for taking the call. So I had to mute that guy. I didn't start listening. I had to mute him because he was so stupid. And I was thinking, so please don't take this wrong, asking, when's Brian going to get into gear 2? And you did.
Took me 30 minutes.
When I unmuted him,
so
you were doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Because this guy's he's not a serious, as many other they're not serious political voices. They're idiots trying to get clicks, trying to get Trump's attention, and trying to make money.
So, Paul, here's the deal, right? Paul, the first 30 minutes of, I think maybe 45 minutes even, if somebody takes the time to be a guest on my show, I will match their energy. if they're going to be respectful, even if they're spewing nonsense, I'll call them out on it, but I'm not going to call them names. I'm not going to raise my voice. I'm not going to be condescending. But correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't switch gears until he started to be condescending to me. And the second that happened, as you know, that's when I go harder. And I would not tolerate that. And that's why I went into my second gear. And I'm just not going to tolerate somebody that spews lies, propaganda, and he has no evidence to back up any of his ridiculous conspiracy theories. That's my take.
Yes. I mean, Brian, that's exactly. We've got to the point in debate because of Trumpism where we debate on stupid stuff. We're talking stupid stuff.
Yeah.
We've moved beyond facts and truth and logic and good sense to where we have to debate stupid stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so with guys like I respect you giving air to the guy, but you almost have to play in his ballpark. I think that's what Americans will call it. You always have to play on his pitch.
Yeah.
Where let's talk about stupid stuff like whether gravity exists. Let's talk about who's more stupid, Joe Biden or Trump, who thinks 1,200% is a legitimate.
Yeah, you know what he says. Joe Biden is a. Listen, I have my criticisms for Joe Biden, but he said Joe Biden is a bumbling idiot because he what is the term he used? He mixes up his words. What did he say? Yeah. And then when I mentioned Donald Trump, crickets. He says Joe Biden is a bumbling idiot because he fell off a bike. I've fallen off a bike before. I think Lance Armstrong in the Tour de France did fall off his bike before. I mean, listen, it's just so stupid. It's so stupid. But hey,
Trump's the guy who looks at an eclipse. Trump's the guy who thought nuking hurricanes was a smart idea. Trump's the guy who thought taking Clorox would cure COVID.
That's true.
That's not mixing up words.
Yeah,
that's his brain's gone.
Well, what's
at best you can say he's intellectually impaired. At worst, you can say he's got dementia. But it's no good. That's not good either way.
Yeah. Well, guess what, Paul? I'm going to continue to expose these clowns for what they are. I don't know how many times I said Trump mushroom gobbler, but I definitely said it a few times. Paul, it's always great to hear from you. I really do appreciate you. Let's go to Donna. Donna is next on PTL. What's up, Donna?
Hi. How are you,
Hey,
Brian?
good. What's up, Donna?
I'll tell you, I had to mute that guy out too. He was making me sick.
Yeah, how do you think I feel? Lower your radio, Donna, if you can.
No, I felt so bad for you.
Yeah, well, I kept him on.
Anybody that denies January 6th, I didn't see that. It just makes you sick. How could you not see what was going on?
He didn't see any officers.
For 4 hours.
He didn't see any officers beaten on January 6th, but he definitely saw Joe Biden fall off a bike, though. He definitely saw that.
Yeah. I just wanted to say you're wonderful. God bless you.
Well, thank you, Donna.
You need a medal for that.
Yeah,
call.
I need to smoke something other than a cigarette, if you know what I'm saying. Thank you for calling in.
I do know what you mean.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
I'm stuck in Massachusetts in a blizzard. So.
Oh, well, be careful. Be careful out there. Go Celtics. Okay. Thank you for the call, Donna. I appreciate it. I love you guys. I love PTL Nation. I really do. I love my listeners, most of them. I wonder, by the way, if Paul will be listening anytime soon. I wonder if he's listening to these calls. Let's go to Lou. Lou is next up on PTL. What's up, Lou? Lou, go right ahead. Did we lose Lou?
Hey, Brian. How you doing?
What's up, Lou?
Body blow, and you knocked him out in the 14th.
It probably should have only gone one round. I was.
Brian, what guy running for office says that elections are rigged when he wants people to vote for him?
That's my point. That's the point.
Oh my God, ridiculous. What is wrong with this man? And you know what, Brian? He's been sleeping since before January 6th because he has no idea what happened.
That was my point. You're running for office. This isn't some idiot you see in line, like, at McDonald's or something, right? This is a guy who's actually running for office who claims the election was stolen and he couldn't come up with one piece of evidence. And he calls Kamala a bumbling. By the way, Hillary Clinton never said the election was stolen. She never specifically said those words. Notice when I called him out on that. Oh, well, the media said it. The media said it. By the way, CNN didn't say the election was stolen. MSNBC didn't say the election was stolen. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. Maybe some idiots on social media.
He's not that dumb. He's just not that dumb.
Yeah, he's. I don't think you think he'll come back on.
Absolutely not. But he's just a big liar, and he's a Trump gobbler, and he believes he thinks just by riding Trump's coattails he's going to get elected.
Yeah. Well, guess what? I'm going to put that all over social media, and I'm going to tag his opponent.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to find his opponent. I'm going to tag his opponent, and I'm going to put it everywhere, and I'm going to punish him for being a mushroom gobbler. Thank you for the call, my friend. I appreciate it. I'm going to punish him. Let's go to John. John is next up on. By the way, full disclosure, any of his opponents have the platform. They're welcome to come on the show. What's up, John?
Hey, you remember me yesterday?
Refresh my memory. I'm sorry, John. We get a lot of calls here.
Oh, I called yesterday about Ali Rossman being kicked out of the State of the Union.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I had a very busy day yesterday. I wasn't able to catch up on that. What did you think about the interview we did?
About the interview with who?
Paul, the guy we just had on. All right. No problem. Call back tomorrow, my friend. We just got to remain on topic here. I appreciate you. Let's go to Pat. Pat is next on PTL. What's up, Pat? Hi, Pat. Pat, are you there? Earth to Pat. Is Pat on the line?
Fine, you get AAA today.
There you
Hello?
go. What's up, Pat? You're on. Go right ahead.
Brian, you get AAA today. AAA, you scored. Man, you've made me feel good today.
I appreciate that.
You did it. You did it. That fool, anybody in Texas that votes for that is crazy.
That's true. I agree. There's a lot of crazies in Texas. Well, there's crazies everywhere, but particularly in Texas.
I'm proud of you, Brian. Yeah. I'm proud. You handled that very well.
Well, I tried to be calm and I tried to be respectful, but the second somebody starts to call me, I think
you were very respectful.
Yeah,
you were very respectful.
He called me.
He got stupid.
Yeah, he called me stupid, and then he started insulting me and being condescending. Let me tell you something. That guy ain't going to insult me and get away with it.
Exactly.
It's not going to happen.
We're not going to have that anyway. Yeah. We're not going to have.
Well, thank you, my dear. I appreciate your call, Pat. Thank you so much. Rapid fire here. Oh, we got to go to Maureen. Who are we going to? Okay, yeah. Let's go to Darlene, the MAGA destroyer. What's up, Darlene?
Brian, thank God I'm on here. First of all, Paul, I have a message from you, from the chat, most of the chat, and myself. You are a complete idiot. You're stupid and you're dumb, and your arrogance is making me sick. But Brian, I have one more thing to say. I know you got other callers, but Brian, I want Paul to know this. Paul, I'm a 65-year-old Oklahoma country woman. I only have a high school education. I never got no college. I never got anything. Did you know I know more about politics than you do, and I learned it from PTL and the Mighty Touch.
Well, that's right.
That's sad.
Darlene.
That is sad, guys.
No, it's not sad, Darlene. I think you're a smart lady. You're funny. You're intelligent. And you have something called common sense. So don't sell yourself short. You are at opposite ends of the spectrum from that clown that I just interviewed for an hour and a half. On the YouTube super chat, Bear Down says that MAGA fathead delusional walrus lost his first election. He'll lose his second one soon, just like the upcoming midterms. Hashtag we the people. Thank you, Bear Down, for that. We appreciate it. We'll get some more up here in just a little bit. Let's see. Who do we have? By the way, number to call 702-221-7283. My friend Darcy, who I love, she's a dear friend. Darcy says, what a douche. Yikes. My brain cells are decreasing, which is hard to do. Thank you, Darcy. I love you. Aza says, Trump mentioned airfields in the Revolutionary War. Yeah, he did. You're right about that. Thank you. Anyone else in the YouTube super chat who wants to join us, feel free. Let's get back to the calls now. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to Ramona. Ramona's next. Hey, Ramona, what's going on?
Hi, Brian.
Hey.
I am a retired mental health professional. Now, hear me out.
Mm-hmm.
The difference in Joe Biden and Donald Trump is that Donald Trump has serious personality disorders, which is malignant narcissism, and he has antisocial personality disorder.
Yeah.
Okay. And he's exhibiting symptoms of frontal lobe dementia. How he leans forward when he's speaking, and his right leg swings like in a semicircle. When he walks, he drags that right leg sometimes. I had a mother who had dementia, so I know what I'm talking about. And this man that you had on is a complete cult member. It is cult mentality.
Mm-hmm.
MAGA is a cult.
I don't think I've ever said Trump mushroom gobbler more in 90 minutes.
I know that was horrible, and I hated how he was so condescending to you.
Well, you know what? I can match somebody's energy, and I think the last 30 minutes I did. And by the way, just to be clear, and thank you, by the way, my dear, for your expertise. I didn't hang up on him. He backed out and he left the interview because I think he finally realized, hey, this isn't going very well for me. Thank you for the call, my dear. Let's go to Jason. Jason is next up on PTL. Hey, Jason, what's up?
Hello?
Yes. Hi, Jason.
Hey, Brian. How are we doing?
Good.
I raise fainting goats here in Ohio, and they faint when they're stressed or scared. And when Paul was speaking, I had 3 of them jokers faint, and I didn't think they was ever going to come back alive. I mean, he stressed them out, Brian, so bad it was just pathetic. That clown don't have a chance in you know what. But I just wanted to know, have you heard about Benny Johnson? What he done today?
Did he have a threesome with Michael Knowles and Lindsey Graham?
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, Lauren Boebert took pictures of Hillary Clinton in her deposition. It's all over the news right now. Sent them to Benny Johnson, who then posted them on social media and said he got them from Lauren Boebert. Hillary Clinton's team got word of that, and the deposition has been postponed.
She should be censored. She should be censored, and she should be thrown out of office. And Benny Johnson
Because that is a rule.
And Benny Johnson should also be knocked on his door from the FBI, as far as I'm concerned, my friend. Would you agree? Would you agree?
Absolutely, 100%.
So I have to look more into that, but it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me.
I see it on social media, and I always look online in the news.
So I knew.
News agencies
So
is repeating it.
So, sir, I knew going into this that there was a picture that was released, but I didn't have all the details. I am not surprised that happened, and Lauren Boebert should be censured. And let me tell you something. Send the FBI. Now, the FBI obviously won't be knocking on Benny's. Benny's such an idiot. I debated him on Piers Morgan a few weeks ago. He's such a moron. How did he know that was not okay? Like how could you post that? It's a closed door session, you imbecile. Thank you for the call, sir. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you. I got to get to some other calls. Let's go to Thaddeus. Thaddeus is next on PTL. Hello, Thaddeus.
Hey, Brian. How you doing today?
Blood pressure's a little high. I need to do some Zen therapy. I need Phil Jackson here.
Well, you know what? Being from Georgia, I'm not surprised that people like that running for office. We have quite a few of those people here in Georgia.
Yeah, you do. You do. You're right.
But you know what? When talking about guns, and he was bringing up European gun laws, if you would have gone into detail with that guy and talk about like specific laws in like Czech Republic that are a little bit more lax, that because they have a really rich hunting culture over there, or talk about individual Swiss laws, I think the guy's head would have exploded.
Yeah, I'll tell you, there is a tell me how you think I should handle this. Let me get your advice on something, if that's okay, sir. So there is an organization that these politicians pay to put them on the air. And there's a group that I work with. And by the way, they've gotten me some very good guests. And even though some of these guests I disagree with, I've been very respectful. We've had good conversations. This was not my fault. And I'm going to tell them, I'm going to be like, look, man, the guy started to insult me and be condescending to me. And I either do one of two things. Either I just end the interview right there, which I prefer not to do, or I defend myself and I match his energy. And that's what I did. And I don't think he expected it. I'm not going to apologize for anything because I don't think I did anything wrong.
No, and I don't fault you for that. The thing is that the level of debate and discussion in this country, the level of it, I don't even know if it reaches like middle school level, because this is why Trump is able to lie about ending 8 wars, because there is a large segment of the country that does not bother to read history or is willing to learn about other countries, and they're only, the only way they know a little bit about the world is what's on their news feed. It is just why we're in the mess we're in right now.
I couldn't agree with you more, my friend, and I appreciate your call, and that's part of the reason. I agree. Let's go to Darren. Darren is next on PTL. What's up, Darren?
Hey, I'm here.
What's up, Darren?
Listen, I just want to say you bring the energy that our Democratic leaders should bring. And it's a shame they don't have the intensity in the skill you have to knock these guys down. The look on that guy's face, he had nothing for you at all. Nothing.
Can I be honest with you, Darren? I appreciate that. I wasn't looking at his face because I didn't have my laptop with me today, so I didn't see. How would you describe his face? Numchuck, why don't you go first?
Well, for one thing, you should have slapped him upside the head about his gap on his teeth.
I didn't see that.
Looks like something black in between.
I can't do that. I did call him Chris Farley 2.0. Maybe that was inappropriate. I don't know.
Listen, man, you are what the Democratic Party needs. I think you should bring every guy that's running, anybody that want, ladies, gentlemen, for the GOP, if they're MAGA, I want them on your show every day.
Well,
you just rip the living, you know what, out of them.
I appreciate that. That's really nice. I don't think Paul's going to come back on. I don't think he's going to want to come back on.
No,
yeah.
He's an idiot. He's
hey,
done.
Hey, maybe I'll send him an email. Hey, Paul, thank you so much for coming on. I hope you get a lot of donations for your appearance. Thanks.
And that's the thing about it, brother. He probably will get a bunch of
maybe a
money
few.
From
Maybe
these
a few.
morons on the side who are.
Let me tell you something. He appeared on Alex Jones. I'm not Alex Jones. So that wasn't going to happen. Let's go to thank you for the call, sir. I appreciate your kind words. It's nice of you. Let's go to Maureen. Maureen is next. What's up, Maureen? Hi, Maureen.
Hi, Brian.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go right ahead.
You deserve a medal because
FIFA.
I would have lost it a long time ago. I had to have 2 drinks while I was listening to that. And I hope Paul loses big time.
I think he will because he's a loser. So I think he will.
You know, he's part of the problem of this country right now. There are more people like him than.
Hey, Maureen. Hey, Maureen. The election was stolen. Trump won. Oh, really? Where's your evidence? Well, where's your evidence that there's gravity? Is that the dumbest thing you've ever heard? Is that the dumbest thing? Wait, hold on. Let me check my pen. I'm checking. Oh, wow. I think that's evidence. Oh my God. Have you ever heard anybody dumber? Oh my God. Wow.
No, he's dumber than anything.
Dumber than rocks, Maureen. Maureen, I so appreciate you. Thank you for calling in. Let's go to Ryan really quickly. Thank you, Maureen. Ryan, what's up, man?
It's about Paul. I can imagine me talking. I can imagine me talking about Paul about Trump. He calls people Chinese kung fu. I can imagine him talking to him and he'll deny it.
Because he's a denier on basic facts, and that's the issue, right? Right, Ryan? He's an election denier. He's running for office. He's I got to tell you, I've done a lot of interviews with some really bad people or stupid people or both. I'm not going to say he's the worst, but I'm going to say he's I interviewed Tina Peters. She's pretty bad. She's in jail right now. He was pretty bad. Darlene, let's see. We've got game. Okay. I see a lot of scrolls here. Brian, call. Okay. Let me know when I get, because it keeps moving on me. Okay. Game says, Brian, stop letting him derail and dodge topics. I don't think I did that. I don't think I let him derail anything. Darlene says, oh my God, Brian, when Trump said he loved the uneducated, he meant Paul, this idiot. Yes, I agree with you, Darlene. I don't think I let him derail anything. I think for the most part, I did a decent job. I'll say. Game says this loser doesn't deserve a mic. Kick him off. Well, you know how I feel about that. But anyway, I look forward to posting that on social media. My media people will be in charge of posting clips. The whole thing was like an hour and a half. Maybe we'll post the whole thing, but I think we'll do it in segments. That was interesting. That is for sure. It was so interesting that I didn't even get a chance to get to my audio clips, which I was looking forward to playing for you today, but that's okay. Thanks to Paul Bondar for coming on the show today. We really appreciate it. Thank you, Paul, for being here. Good luck in your election in Texas. We wish you the best. We really do. You see on the bottom of the screen where Numchuck put up pushingthelimits.live. That's where we'd like you to go. So I can buy some blood pressure medication today because I think I'm going to need it. You can make donations, $5, $10, $20, whatever you can afford. We greatly appreciate it. It's so I could go to the drugstore and get blood pressure medication to lower my blood pressure. I suffer for all of you. But in all seriousness, any donation is appreciated. We greatly appreciate that. Tomorrow we'll be back at it. Same time, same place. I need to grab a stiff drink, and we'll be back at it tomorrow, folks. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more.